I learned about this guy, Dan Wooten, from following Depp and Heard. He wrote some not such nice things about Johnny, and now Dan's got allegations against him. This here's from The Guardian from July 25th, 2023, still pretty new, and it says The Sun stands by Hugh Edwards' story and is investigating Dan Wooten, MP's here. So they'll talk about Edwards a little bit, and then, of course, let's talk about what they say on Dan. Here we go. It starts off by saying The Sun said it stands by its reporting on Hugh Edwards, and also it stands by its investigation on Dan Wooten. The Sun makes this claim, which you guys can judge for yourself. The editor, Victoria Newton, told MPs The Sun was a responsible media organization which has strict editorial and legal frameworks to ensure accuracy in its reporting, while also taking allegations about internal misconduct very seriously. So the difference here between some other cases is this is internal in a company, not domestic. Now, we probably don't quite agree with how the Sun describes themselves, but let's hope in this case they're being professional and investigating correctly. I guess time will tell. And they go on to say this about Edwards. The Sun reported earlier this month that an anonymous BBC news reader, later identified as Edwards, had paid a 17-year-old for not such safe for work images, which is a criminal offense. Edwards was suspended by the BBC, and the Sun rolled back on its suggestion that any illegal behavior had taken place and blamed other news outlets for suggesting criminal acts had occurred. You know, with all this blaming each other about stuff, who's reporting the real news here? What are we talking about? Well, their explanation is the story is of public interest. Well, in Dan's case, I suppose so. The Sun does, of course, claim it was a responsible publisher and was careful with potentially identifying details. At no point we have identified the gender of the young person, which the BBC has done on more than one occasion. This person here, Caroline Dinage, does say that the Sun's reporting has inaccuracies, changing narratives, and lack of engagement with some parties involved. Well, that doesn't sound so responsible. So obviously some media infighting here. They say the person at the heart of the allegations, who is now 20, said the Sun story is rubbish. Well, honestly, we don't know what's rubbish yet. Trying to put these pieces together and see what falls in place as far as fact. So basically, so far, this article is pointing out infighting with the Sun and the media and what's true, basically. But they're going to get to Dan. Newton was also asked to provide MPs with details of an investigation into claims that Wooten, a former Sun journalist, used a synonym, Martin Branning, to offer tens of thousands of pounds to colleagues in return for not safe for work images. And they quote Dinage saying, "We would be grateful if you could set out what investigations have taken place into this matter. I'm sure you'll recognize how important it is for the public to have confidence in a newspaper's editorial standards, not only on this particular case, but across all its reporting." Newton confirmed the external law firm Kingsley Napley had been hired to advise on the investigation, so they're claiming it's a law firm who's got no dog in the fight, completely separate. Well, maybe, maybe not. She said, on Mr. Wooten, "We are investigating relevant matters raised by reports by Byline Times and The Guardian last week. We take these allegations seriously, but we are in no position to comment further, and indeed, we make no commitment to make any further comment depending on the outcome of our investigation." Wooten has retained his nightly show at the right-wing channel GB News, where he has blamed dark forces for trying to bring him down. But his lucrative twice-weekly column at Mail Online has not appeared since allegations against him were first made by an ex-boyfriend and Byline Times. That's interesting. That actually got sidelined. Everyone was saying, what about the show? What about the show? But the column is probably bigger or as big as the show, so that's important too. And they asked if Wooten was still being paid by Mail Online, and a spokesperson said there isn't any update, and the call ended. All right, so that means maybe Danny Boy is not getting paid by the Mail Online, and I gotta say this, I gotta be against that, even though Dan rightly deserves to have the spotlight. I can't say he should be fired or his pay should be cut without evidence he actually did these things. I'm all for him facing social backlash, people unfollowing. You've got the right to unsubscribe and things like that if you're a paid member or whatever. That's your choice. You can believe what you want. But as far as the companies and the platform, I gotta say, probably evidence should be available or some kind of legal outcome before they actually act on his pay. Let me know what you think down below. Doing shout outs, special thanks, things like that. If you're not subscribed here, consider it. If you don't, I'll be real sad about it, but I'll get over it. See you next time.